Hey, what's up, guys? Little man with a big opinion here. Thought I'd try to get a good thumbnail with a gun in the picture, a firearm, a weapon, whatever you want to call it, because those typically do better. But I think the information that I'm going to talk about in here, for those of you that watch these videos, is going to be worth more of, have more value than having the firearm in the picture. And now that I think I've got the decent shot out of the way with my M1 carbine, I'll set it down here and I'll talk about another gun and the whole point of this video. So I've got a handgun here. It's a Glock 40 or a Glock 22. It's chambered in 40. It's one of the oldest models out there. I took it out shooting with my cousin, to get him more involved. I'm showing guns because I was perusing Reddit, found a question in the prepping channel about a guy that is carrying an AR style rifle on a camping hiking trip, and he really wants to know how he can manage carrying a second rifle slash shotgun. He specifically says a long gun attached to his pack, without it seeming clunky, overweight, but also in a way that he can quickly deploy it if he needed to use the second one. There was lots of good discussion in there, but I want to give my take. Actually, I'll give some of the highlights first, because one guy basically explains, it sounds like you're LARPing. You shouldn't be carrying two rifles because that's just excessive weight, and you should more focus on, getting something that can meet all of your needs. A lot of people suggested the shotguns with an insert, so you're having two calibers, and other people, quickly told them now you're carrying two types of ammo and it takes too long to change out. And some people talked about, pick this rifle, pick this shotgun, this is why you should go with a higher caliber, more DMR style. This is why you should stick with the AR. A quick answer to any of that's boring without going into any sort of detail is get what works for you, train on it, and I would rather have someone with a 1022 that has shot it 1,500 times than someone that's got, a 30-06 bolt action rifle, that they're like, yep, it's going to go through anything and everything. I've got the most expensive ammo, for body armor, and I put a nice scope on it, and they've shot it 15 times at a range where they're sitting at a bench, and yes, they hit a target 200 meters, yards, whatever you want to call it, away, and they did very good. So, regardless of what you take with you, you should be very well versed with your thing. And I bring up the pistols because, this is a Glock 22. We were shooting it. I'm not very good with it. I've rarely ever shot that gun. But you've all seen my daily carry. It's the SIG 365X macro. For one, holding it and my finger, it's very great on the trigger. I love the size of it. I have tiny hands. So I have equipment that works well for me. Whereas this guy, this feels a lot more bulky when I am, and I've cleared it, but when I am, reaching forward with my pointer finger, you know, it's kind of hard to show, but when people are pulling the trigger, they say have the pad, you know, centered. If you're off to the right, then it's going to kind of pull to the right. If you have longer fingers and you go over more to the left, then it wants to pull that way. My hand doesn't, I don't sit flush with this. Like, I actually have to rotate forward a little bit to get a um, good grasp on it. More, this is more well suited for my cousin. And that's why we're, working with it for him. But I show off two pistols because 95% of your situations where you're going to have to defend yourself, you're probably going to be using a pistol. Unless I am physically at home, like sitting at my desk with my M1 carbine, it sits right next to my desk. If I recognize the threat right here, right now, then yeah, I'll grab this. It holds 15 rounds. It's a rifle. It's fairly hard hitting. If I'm physically, getting ready to walk out of my bedroom door, yes, I probably will pick up the shotgun that is there. But I carry a handgun with me. If I'm anywhere else in the house, that's what's getting deployed first. From the way that we have war gamed out stuff going on in our house, even though Texas is a stand your ground, depending on where we're at, we do retreat to other spots. Not because we're scared, not because, anything like that, but we will retreat to where there are other firearms. If I am at work and I have to come home, I don't have an AR with me, I have my handgun with me. It has to do the job until we get home. If I'm out in public, because why I think prepping should be a lifestyle, if I'm at the shopping mall, I don't have an AR with me, I have my handgun. The movie theater, have my handgun. Grocery shopping, handgun. That's going to get used a heck of a lot more. I like the element of surprise because it's concealed carry. It doesn't weigh very much. I really like, I've got the 17 round in the gun. And then I know this is a 21 round. It's their extended. And I'm using the Neo Mag. It's just a magnet. Very tough magnet, pulling it off that way. But it's just got a clip on it. Magazine clips onto it. When it's time to deploy it, it stays in my left pocket. And you just slide up. It comes off, pretty easily. And yeah, that gives me 21 more. Some people make the argument for having a third magazine. Me personally, most of the time I've got a tourniquet or a Israeli bandage or other things for my pockets. It's just how I roll. Yes, stopping power, awesome. Be able to plug holes while also putting holes in things. So I say all that because, that is what I would add. If you are at home the zombie apocalypse starts, the need to bug out starts, I would stick with one. Um, I would modify that to I conceal carry. Um, it's a fairly comfortable setup. I'm going to take my handgun with me as well so that I have another option. Um, but for the most part, you know, stick with one. We're not we're not operators. Um, that's from like a survival bug out standpoint. That ignores the Minuteman idea. The Minuteman idea, I'm probably not concealed carrying my handgun. It's attached to some sort of battle belt. Uh, for quicker and easier access. Um, but my loadout changes completely from a Minuteman standpoint and a bug out standpoint. And that would make this video way longer than it has to be. That being said, if you want me to talk about, you know, bugging out versus Minuteman, I can make those videos. Um, it is that's two different complete styles of kids. And with that, the baby's waking up, so like, share, subscribe, comment, do all those sort of things, and I'll catch you on the next one.